Hello, my name is Garrett Black, and I am pleased to give you my presentation. In this video, I will try to talk about what aspects are covered in my master's thesis and why are they so important. It should be remembered that my master's dissertation is in the process of being written and has not yet been completely written. This means that I will be making a lot of changes to my master's thesis. This video is just an example of how I work on my scientific work and how I image the plan of my work. Thanks for your attention. Enjoy watching. This presentation was made as a part for preparation for my master dissertation. University of Barcelona. Garrett Black. 1. Theoretical aspects of teaching adults a foreign language. English. 1.1 Approaches to teaching adults when acquiring a foreign language. Most theories of adult learning are based on research into the learning of children, which in turn is founded upon theories of animal learning. These theories, formulated under laboratory conditions, are artificial at best and not complex enough to apply to adult human beings. We consider it appropriate to explain why andragogy is usually identified as a separate science. When teaching foreign languages to adults, the psychological and age characteristics of the group of the students should be taken into account. Today, there are many scientific works devoted to self-learning methods for adults. However, we were able to find surprisingly few works devoted to methods of teaching adult students using modern digital technologies. But before discussing this topic, we should start with a brief description of the age characteristics of adult students. Knowles was the first to write about andragogy as a separate science. It was this researcher who not only deeply studied the theory of this issue, but also developed practical methods of working with adult students. It was Knowles who formulated the concept of andragogy, its goals and objectives. He called this practical model of andragogy in practice. We consider it appropriate to explain why andragogy is usually identified as a separate science. Firstly, today a certain approach to teaching has developed in pedagogy, in which the focus shifts not to the teacher as a source of knowledge, but to the students themselves and to the individual approach to learning. This means that students are not passive participants in the educational process. They have the right to choose the vector of their own learning. This means that adult students are a unique group because they are already quite conscious and can be perfectly aware of their motivation, their needs, and set pedagogical tasks for themselves. Secondly, we are witnessing how learning is becoming more and more accessible, moving to an online format. Online courses and online higher education or academic degrees are becoming increasingly popular. The borders between countries are erased, and an increasing number of people become involved in the educational process. This means that older people have a unique chance to expand and complement their education. Thus, both the psychological portrait of the student and the learning conditions change. At the same time, traditional pedagogy is not yet ready for these challenges. 1. Theoretical aspects of teaching adults a foreign language, English. 1.2. Conditions that must be met in the classroom so that speech recognition technologies can be used in practice. The use of speech recognition technologies in English lessons in educational institutions can be called an innovation. So far, these technologies have not become widespread due to equipment in classrooms. Speech recognition technologies expand the capabilities of teachers when working with adult learners. At this stage of development of the pedagogical system, these opportunities have not yet been fully used. Fulfillment of the pedagogical conditions listed by us in this chapter will allow us to create a new format of teaching, favorable for the development of communication skills of adult students. 2. Practice of using speech recognition technology in teaching pronunciation of English as a foreign language for adults. 2.1. Modern areas of application of speech recognition technology in pedagogy. In this chapter, we want to provide a brief overview of speech recognition technology, as well as describe in detail why it is so important to create the theoretical background for creating a simulator for teaching foreign languages. Today, recognition systems operate on the basis of artificial intelligence. Before we look at this technology in more details, we must look at text-to-speech technology, TTS. Text-to-speech is currently available on any device, from computers to mobile phones. This technology allows you to reproduce text displayed on the screen in audio format. It is widely used to enable visually impaired people to access the use of computers and tablets. This technology is also used in other devices, such as voice assistants or smart devices. Speech recognition technologies are still little used in teaching, although their potential is quite large. For example, for students with dyslexia learning a foreign language, a speech recognition system can be a tool for solving reading problems. Using this technology can create a more inclusive environment for students with disabilities. This work is devoted to teaching foreign languages to adults, so we consider it appropriate to dwell in more details on this particular group of students. 2. Practice of using speech recognition technology in teaching pronunciation of English as a foreign language for adults. Alice. A little over a year ago, at YAC 2018 conference, Yandex announced its first hardware product, Yandex Station with Alice. Yandex Station is a smart speaker with Alice, which is controlled by voice. She knows how to turn on movies, TV series, music, to suit her mood and keep a conversation going. Our choice fell on this device because it is most common device. The Yandex digital assistant Alice is used daily by 8 million people. Using the Yandex column, you can make a smart home, when one column controls all the smart things in the house: alarm, coffee maker, multi-cooker, cattle, sockets, heating system, etc. Also, in Russia, the Yandex speaker is the most common device used by children and the elderly. The main function of this speaker is full voice control. This means that people do not need to use a monitor to communicate with artificial intelligence, which allows even small children to interact with the speaker. In addition, the speaker has a parental control function that allows children to use the speaker safely. The column is often used as a teaching tool because it allows you to listen to audiobooks and music, can answer questions and provide the necessary information upon request. Additional programs for the smart speaker called Skills allow you to expand its functionality. For example, launch any word game, riddle mode, or meditation mode. The peculiarity of this function is that any user can create a skill convenient for him. For a developer, this is a web service written in any programming language or a web framework. This service requires user comments and response to them. We conducted a small analysis of the functionality of the smart speaker in order to find out whether it can be used as a tool for teaching English as part of an English lesson. The appendix to this work presents a translation of the conversation with Alice in English made by the author of this work. Our goal is to analyze the possibilities of using the smart speaker as a tool for teaching English. At the same time, our tasks are to identify the possible advantages and disadvantages of Alice, to determine the potential of this device. Methods of analysis. For our study, we analyzed the dialogue between the user and the Alice. We analyzed the smart speaker's responses to user requests, its ability to provide educational content, and its level of user interaction. Analysis results. 1. A smart speaker is capable of providing educational information upon request. For example, it can tell about the history of the English language, its origin, and the phonetic system. Making these requests is quite simple. However, the big drawback is the lack of a voice module responsible for pronouncing phrases and sounds in English. The quality of the answers provided suffers as a result. Also, Alice does not understand queries in English. 2. Access to educational resources. The smart speaker offers the user access to various educational resources, such as internet sites. Alice most often turns to Wikipedia, and so-called skills. It seems that Alice most often turns to the most popular, that is, in-demand sites. The smart speaker often reports the name of the site from which the information was taken. However, she reads the names of the sites with such a strong Russian accent that it is almost impossible to make out the names by ear. However, the smart speaker cannot create a structured course for training. It can only respond to specific user requests, giving limited answers. The big disadvantage of the smart speaker is the lack of a monitor. Firstly, as stated earlier, it is impossible to understand for which site the information was taken. It would be useful if Alice could display this information on the monitor. Secondly, the user faces a navigation problem. The lack of a monitor makes it difficult to understand which lesson and which chapter of the course it is in. The second significant disadvantage is the lack of an English voice module. Reading English words using Russian transcription is not only inconvenient, it is harmful because it can give the student the wrong idea about pronunciation in English. From the teacher's point of view, the Alice Smart Speaker lacks the teacher's voice recognition function. The separation of column functionality is very important for conducting quality lessons. For example, a student may only have access to course materials that are appropriate to his level. He should be able to complete exercises and use speech simulators. The teacher must be able to manage content, add new information, and track the progress of his students. It seems possible to add this feature because the smart speaker is already equipped with voice recognition. One Alice device can remember and identify up to 5 different voices, remembering the musical preferences of different users. A big disadvantage is the inability to create a connected system based on smart speakers. This means that it is not yet possible to organize group training using smart speakers. This could be organized as follows. Give each student in the group his own column for individual lessons in the language laboratory, and give the teacher access to a computer on which he can track the students' progress and give them assignments. Without a connected smart speaker system, it is not possible to organize group work within educational groups or training courses. Without such a system, the teacher doesn't have the opportunity to coordinate teaching, synchronize materials given to students, or synchronize tasks completed by students. Also, the teacher cannot monitor the time that students spend on completing assignments. Related to this complexity is another difficulty. The smart speaker doesn't have the ability to connect wired headphones. This means that when working with Alice, the user can only connect Bluetooth headphones to it. If we are talking about working in a group, then we may have a problem with identifying connected devices if several students use the same model of wireless headphones. This is a very possible option because the same model of headphones is usually purchased for language classes. It will be impossible to determine which Bluetooth headphones are connected to the smart speaker. This will lead to confusion in the English lesson and will also make the teacher's job more difficult. Artificial intelligence often misunderstands a highly specialized user requests. For example, if a user wants to know how to spell a particular word, the system instead offers him an interpretation of this word. Also, often, if you ask the artificial intelligence a question about what tense a verb should be used in this sentence, the AI will start talking about all the tenses in the English language. Controversial cases also arise when a user asks to translate a phrase from English into his native language. Instead of translating, the artificial intelligence may begin to give an interpretation of an English phrase in English without giving a translation. The worst situation is with transcription and pronunciation of words. If a user asks the artificial intelligence how to pronounce a word, the AI will often provide an interpretation of the word instead. Also, artificial intelligence makes mistakes in recording the transcription of the word. Also, artificial intelligence doesn't always recognize colloquial speech, slang words, and dialects of the English language. For example, if you ask the AI to give an interpretation of the phrase "to hit the books," then the artificial intelligence begins to define the word hit. Errors are not only in highly specialized requests, but also in more general ones. For example, if you ask the artificial intelligence about the differences between British English and American English, the AI will return information about the two countries without analyzing the languages. Also, artificial intelligence does not work well enough with the selection of synonyms and antonyms for English words. Instead of a synonym for the requested word, you can get an interpretation or translation of this word. The same is true with idioms, set phrases, and phraseological units. For example, if a user asks the artificial intelligence to explain the phrase "kill 2 birds with 1 stone," the artificial intelligence begins to give information about birds and stones. The situation is not the best with terms from the field of linguistics. If you ask the artificial intelligence to give an interpretation of a term, for example, present perfect, then the AI doesn't give a specific answer to the question, giving general information about the tenses of the English verbs. The main source of these errors is the very operating principle of the Generative Pre-trained Transformer, GPT, developed by OpenAI. To quickly launch the project, the company did not select the texts on which the AI was trained. As stated on the official website, GPT chat is self-learning using the following sources of information. Internet. News articles from a variety of publications. This means that the GPT chat does not distinguish between an article on culture and a yellow press publication devoted to incredible phenomena and esotericism. Blogs and comments. Using this source of information, GPT chat learns to predict people's reactions. However, it is precisely the source that allows errors to appear in the data. Comments are often written by people under the influence of strong emotions and cannot serve as a source of reliable information. Moreover, often the function of these comments is to influence the perception of other readers, which means these comments can be negative and manipulative. The AI doesn't understand this point. Also, many comments are written by people who do not share the scientific picture of the world. These people may believe that the Earth is actually flat, that evolution does not exist, etc. AI doesn't have the ability to filter and evaluate such information. Also, there are often errors in the comments, which leads to the AI itself starting to spell words incorrectly or use words that do not exist. Scientific texts and articles is a very reliable source of information. Dictionaries, encyclopedias, and reference books, too. It is the source of information that helps AI quickly provide facts to the users. However, there is a problem in the world that dictionaries are allowed to be published that have nothing to do with science. For example, those related to alternative history. The second source of errors when working with AI is errors in natural language processing and problems with the recognition of the request itself. But these errors are beyond the scope of our scientific research. Chapter 2.2 Analysis of the student's needs for teaching English pronunciation for adults. Analyzing learners' needs is an important step in the process of developing and implementing effective pronunciation instruction programs for adults English language learners. This analysis aims to identify adult learning goals in order to develop personalized techniques and strategies to promote the gradual development of pronunciation skills. Analysis becomes distinctive for strengthening the process of forming the characteristics of adult students. The purpose of the analysis is to gain a complete understanding of the language and speech needs of adult learners. This includes demonstrating their native language, level of language skills, and specific problems and requests in the area of English pronunciation.